Oh my goodness, I love it.
Closed for a while though because of COVID.
Oh, for sure. Well, you know, in the before times.
This is like Club United We Taste.
Yeah.
Yes, Club UWT.
UWT. Welcome everyone. We are officially live now. So let's do this. Welcome to session 15, the Bubbles edition. Basically, Filipe requested this. My name is McCoy. I am your host. I'm a certified sommelier in New York City, also based in Lisbon. And I'm also a wine experience producer. And of course, my co-host, Filipe, he would not let me go another month until we did sparkling wine. So I'm gonna send it immediately to him. And if you're in the chat, let us know. We'll love to hear what you're drinking and what's going on. So, Filipe.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Filipe. I'm calling you from a small town called Bairrada in the wine region of Bairrada in Portugal. I work as a business consultant and I also run a blog called Vie du Vin. And after 14 sessions of tasting wines around the world, I'm really excited to have this one just dedicated to sparkling wine. I'm really looking forward to see the wines that our lovely panel brought today. And I'm glad to share with you today. So let's do this.
Let's do this. So we have two new players and we have two repeat offenders is back. And I thought this would be interesting because everybody in the room, including Filipe, are bubble aficionados, right? Everybody aficionados, they have a special, no matter what country they're in, no matter what city they're in. I'm not gonna, this is why it's not called the champagne edition, because we all know there's bubbles of all forms in different countries. And we'll get to that later. But I think that it'd be great to have these experts on sparkling wines here with us. So I'm going to welcome our new guest first. So Davon.
Yes, hello. So my name is Davon Hatchett Robinson. I have to say Robinson. I am a lawyer by day. I practice trademark law, business law, and wine law. And when people hear me say wine law, it's really a thing. There, of course, are a lot of rules and regulations that go into wine, as well as a big trademark component, because when you think about wine, you're thinking about labels and stuff like that and wanting to brand your wines. So that's what I do by day. By night, I am the Bubbleista. It is a brand, blog, and a persona because I am the Bubbleista. I do wine education, champagne and wine, but mostly champagne. I am like champagne obsessed, sparkling wine obsessed. And so I talk about champagne and sparkling wines a lot. So I have that blog. And I also have a company, a wine oriented hospitality company called Vie du Vin. And that's some stuff coming out that I'm rolling out with that too. So I'm really excited about that.
And tell us where you're located, Davon.
Oh, I am a Texas girl, born, bred, and raised. It is hot, it is humid, but I love Texas. I'm a native Houstonian, but I'm currently in Dallas. So yeah, Texas through and through.
All right, thanks for joining us. Blaine?
Hi, I'm Blaine Ashley. I'm the founder of New York Champagne Week, which I launched in 2013. So we're celebrating 7 years this November. Would be 8. Thank you. It would be 8. However, I took a 1-year hiatus to start a new platform called The Fizz is Female, which celebrates female-made and owned and heavily led sparkling wines from around the world. So that's been really fun for me because even though champagne is my true love, I couldn't work with other sparkling wines through Champagne Week until I launched the Fizz is Female. So not only do I get to drink and discover many other sparkling wines from around the world, I also get to work with badass females in the bubbly wine business.
Yeah.
So that's been really rewarding for me. And I'm generally New York based, but I have been visiting a family that just relocated to Hilton Head, South Carolina. So a 2-hour flight from New York. And I'm really enjoying the beach life, the space, being around family during this time more than I've been in the last like 15, 20 years. I am from Hawaii, so my parents lived in Hawaii in the last 10 years that I was in New York. So to be able to have them a 2-hour flight away has been really, really, really great. And we're drinking lots of champagne. So that's been fun.
Especially, I guess you're a good daughter to have, right? You know, that champagne connection. They're like, you can come whenever, just bring a case, you know.
I took over a room in the house, but you see what they're getting to enjoy behind.
Oh, wow, look at that. We see you. We see what you're working with. Thanks, Blaine, for joining us.
Thank you.
And then we have Nicole.
Yes, my name is Nicole Wolbers. So I'm from Germany, based in Potsdam near Berlin. Yes, I joined already one edition of this really lovely series, and today's one of my favorite topics, actually. And yes, I hold the WSET diploma level, and I'm still working for WSET. And otherwise, I'm more like a wine consultant and a wine writer. And yeah, 2 years ago, I started my Schaumwein blog, so the bubble blog in German, and focusing on German sparkling wines, because I noticed through experience with other countries that the potential is so high here, but yeah, you have to spread the word a little bit more. So
For
that's
sure.
why I'm curious, you know, what I brought today with me. So I'm looking forward.
Thanks, Nicole. And my good friend, my sister Tanisha, and just to give you a heads up about this. So my time in Champagne was because of Tanisha. I probably would have, you know, just spent a nice, whatever amount of time. If you see me in France, if I can choose, I will be in Loire Valley for sure. So Tanisha said, you know, girl, if you here, I have a cousin that live in Paris, then we go into Champagne. And so I'm fortunate to say that because of my relationship with Tanisha is how I end up in Pernis and visiting the different Champagne houses. So Tanisha.
Oh, thanks. Anyway, I'm Tanisha Townsend. I am currently based in Paris, France. I've lived here, it'll be 6 years in October, originally from Chicago. And in the before times, I was a food and wine tour guide. In the after times, I am now creating online guides for tourism for wine regions. I used to host day trips to Champagne. And now I create guides for Champagne. I'm working with one on Bordeaux, and a wine bar guide for Paris. So when people can come back to Paris, they know which wine bars to go to. All Girl Meets Glass approved. That is what I operate under, Girl Meets Glass. And I also host a podcast called Wine School Dropout.
Coming back, Tanisha. And we've had Tanisha several times now. So I know she was like Filipe, waiting for the bubble time. When do we talk about champagne? Okay. Like, okay, this is cute, but when do we talk about champagne? And so just to give you, because I didn't start out just explaining, sometimes I take for granted that everybody just know what United We Taste is, but we are a global wine community of professionals, and it's been an honor to host people who are working in wine from China all the way to Australia to South Africa, you know, and everywhere in between in Europe and into the States over to California. So just thank you all who've been joining, all the professionals, those who've been reaching out and waiting to jump on with us. We would love to have you. So let's begin. We're going to start with our tasting this time. Sometimes we flip the script and do questions first, but you already see some of us are swirling. We already, I'm doing a champagne breakfast right now, so we're already getting into it. So we're just going to go right ahead and start doing the tasting. So Filipe, do you want to start with yours?
Yeah.
You're the only guy, so I feel like you're going to
just this time.
Well, I bring you a sparkling wine from my wine region, Bairrada, which is a very small wine region, but accounts for 65% of the sparkling wines produced in Portugal. So there's a long tradition of sparkling wines here in my region. And the one that I bring you today is a special one made from a native grape called the Baga. So Bairrada is usually a grape used for red wines mainly, but from some years, besides, we started doing some sparkling wines with Bairrada. So it's actually a Blanc de Noir that I bring you today. So it's from a small producer called Positive Wines, which I love the wine, the name of the company, and the wine it's called Original. So this is a wine that I've been drinking for a while. It's very, very interesting, very creamy. As you can see, a very lovely golden color with very elegant bubbles here. You can also notice some ripe plum here, also some notes of toast. It's very beautiful, very creamy. You can feel the mousse inside your mouth. It's very elegant, well balanced. Acidity is not that high, but still you can feel the freshness. The acidity is there, and there's a very nice and long finish. I really like it. So this is the perfect wine to pair with the local dish that we have here in Bairrada, which is a roasted piglet. And we really enjoyed it to pair this sparkling wine with that traditional dish. And just wanted to say, there's a long tradition in Bairrada. When you visit a friend, you can always expect a glass of sparkling wine. So everybody has a sparkling wine in the fridge just waiting for you. And I really hope you can come here to Bairrada and taste some of this sparkling wine with me. So I toast to you, and I invite you all to come here to Bairrada in Portugal. Cheers.
Yes.
Filipe is now the tourism alliance for Bairrada. So. No, but I think it's cool because you know, a lot of people we know more. Let's just say we know a little bit more about Cava. Of course, we know enough on a professional level about Italian sparkling, but Portugal. People, I think it took for me to move to Portugal to hear about Bairrada. I've had sparkling wines from Portugal, but never from that region until I actually moved there, because they make sparkling wines in Vinho Verde. And so a lot of people have Vinho Verde sparkling wines, but they don't know that, most people don't know that this region that Filipe is actually from is like the sparkling region. That you know, like you said, 65% of sparkling come from this area. Is not designated in a way like champagne is for it only, you know, but espumante, you didn't mention, that is what we say in Portuguese for sparkling wine. Yeah. Espumante.
And if I might just to add a little bit more about the terroir, it's a very small wine region, as I mentioned, but with very nice features. So we are at about 20 kilometers of the sea, and we are surrounded by mountains. So there's a perfect terroir for sparkling wines here. We also have lovely table wines, but for sparkling wines and white wines, it's really perfect. You can feel the acidity, the salinity of the presence of the sea, and at the same time surrounded by the mountains. So it's really very, very nice.
Thanks, Filipe. You're gonna send it to somebody? Who's next?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna choose?
Yeah, choose whoever you want. Who are you excited to hear about what they got?
Let's go to Davon.
Okay. All right. Yes. So I'm really excited about this wine, the champagne. This was my first time trying it too. I think a couple of other people are saying this is something they've tried for the first time.
Thanks for showing a label.
Yeah.
What happened to the label?
This champagne is Jean-Pierre Lanois. And Tanisha, you're gonna have to help me with this French diction today. So,
okay.
You know,
I'll do what I can.
It's
I'm like, yeah, rely on Tanisha. We'll all be speaking in German.
Exactly. And so, just a little background about this one. The reason I was so excited about this champagne is because it's a grower champagne. I love grower champagnes. This family has been tending vines in the Côte de Blanc for 3 generations. And the son, Julian, is the one who actually decided to start producing champagne. So they are, you know, récoltant manipulants in the finest, purest sense. They started out growing the grapes and now they're making their champagne. So the Jean-Pierre Lanois, the Julian is the winemaker. Jean-Pierre is his dad. And the actual name of the winery is, or the company is Paul Lanois Champagnes. So this one is really, really nice. The grapes, it's 50-50 Chardonnay, Pinot Noir. And the Chardonnay grapes are from the famed Ménil-sur-Oger region village. So for people who need kind of a comparison to figure out what that means, if you've had Krug or Salon champagnes, they get their Chardonnay grapes from there. So it's a really pretty color. I don't know if you can see that well. It's beautiful. Yes, it's really beautiful. And when I first opened it and smelled it, it was just coming out of the glass with pear and green apple, yellow apples. And then it's like this pear tart. That's the best way I can describe it, because it had that yeasty note, but it was more pastry as opposed to like dough or, you know, baked bread. It was really, really fragrant and beautiful. It's so good, y'all. So good. So the apple and the pear follow through from the nose. I'm also getting kind of like some almond notes, but not like, kind of like, it's going to sound probably weird to say this or corny maybe, but kind of like marzipan-ish kind of notes with it. It's really rich and full. It's got like medium plus acidity to it. Kind of a medium body. It's really good. It's low ABV, so it's only 12% alcohol by volume. And it's just really delicious. I will admit that it is not the easiest wine to find, but if you do find it, snap it up and grab it. I know I will be. I only have 1 bottle left. I only bought 2 bottles at the time, so I have 1 bottle left. And this is going to be great just all summer long, all into next year. It's a fantastic wine. I love it. And it only comes in at about $40 a bottle, so it's amazing.
Nice.
Perfect.
It's really good. Oh, and I do want to mention a couple of other things that are interesting about this family. So 2 things that they do, they have gone back to fermentation in oak barrels. And the reason that they do that is that it gives it the opportunity to have micro oxygenation, which adds complexity and kind of depth to it, which is why they do that. And then also one of the really cool things that they're doing is they are offering what's called a single barrel champagne. So what you're able to do, it's incredible. So you're able to buy into barrels or a barrel, and you are actually able to work with the winemaker to influence how you want your barrel to taste. So you can.
Well, there's 6 of us. So I think
I saw you counting. I'm like, what? It sounds like the gears are turning.
Exactly. It's incredible.
I think you should just go ahead and execute. Let us know, divided by 6, what we need to do, okay?
And we can do this. You can control dosage. You can control how long it's on the lees. There are these factors that you can play with and kind of make it your own. And then you also get input from the winemaker himself. So it's just incredible. I would love to do that.
You leading it. I don't know what it is. You want to tell us how much it costs? Let us know if we need this 6 plus another 6. I don't know how expensive this is going to be, but I think this is kind of, and I wonder, is this something they did before COVID-19 too, or is this something new that they're doing to just kind of pivot and like make business happen right now?
Yeah, no, this is something, if I'm correct in this, I believe he started doing the winemaking like in 2017, 2018, and that was part of his kind of entrepreneurial spirit in the wine industry to offer that
Got it.
because they were doing the oak barrels. And so it's just kind of something he came up with, and, you know, so impressed by that.
Okay, perfect. I love this idea. So I think that the customer experience is basically what, you know, a lot of things is missing from the wine industry is the customer experience, right? So there's this disconnect. There's a people that works on restaurant floors, events, what a lot of us do, you know, whether it's in tourism, whether it's in a restaurant. And so we touch the customers, but then the wineries are disconnected from how to give good customer experiences. So I feel like that sounds like he's ahead of the curve, because I'm not, maybe somebody else is doing it, never heard of it, but I think this is a good way to do so.
Yeah, never heard of it.
Applause to him.
Yeah.
Filipe, show us your bottle so that we just know what it looks like.
Yeah, I missed that. Sorry. Here we go.
The original.
Bairrada.
Yeah, see that now. Bairrada. Lovely.
Awesome. All right, Davon, who's next?
Let's go to Blaine. Tagging in Blaine there.
Tagging Blaine.
So I'm not drinking champagne, which is kind of surprising. But like I said, I've gotten to explore a lot of other regions and places that do sparkling really well since launching Fizz is Female. So it's been exciting for me. And you know, the juice has to be good, of course, but it's very important to me that the people behind the wine are good people, and the story is also a good story. So I'm enjoying the Ocean Reserve from Iron Horse Vineyards. And, you know, it's also
graphics.
Yeah,
that's the first thing I saw. I'm like,
it's in partnership with National Geographic. So I'll tell you just a quick bit about the story. It's 100% Blanc de Blanc, and $4 of every bottle goes toward preserving marine preservation efforts and sustainable fishing practices. So because I'm a Hawaii girl and because I'm in Hilton Head right now, couldn't be a more fitting bottle for me to be enjoying today. But also I had the pleasure through our mutual friend, Rita Jamé of La Carvahlo, to connect with the CEO, who's second generation for Iron Horse, Joy Sterling. And we did a little like Fizz is Female interview the other week. And she's just incredible. And they actually have 18 sparkling wine cuvées at the vineyard, 18, since she joined her post as CEO in 2006. So they've already been very renowned for their sparkling wine, Method Champenois. However, since she joined, she just kind of has gone a little bit crazy in the best way to expand the sparkling wine offerings. And she's very philanthropic and very much a connector. So she's just a really cool woman. So this wine, I was dying to open and I was saving it for a special occasion. So when you messaged me, Cha, I was like, okay, this is it. I'm gonna open it. Also because where I am in Hilton Head, we don't have a lot of things available. So I happened to have this bottle ready to go. And I get like lime, like Tahitian lime, the salinity coming through in this, you know, they're in Sebastopol, so they're right near the ocean. And I get that, like just right off the nose. And I'm just trying it for the first time today, by the way. So on the palate, I just get a little bit more citrus. I get some nice tangerine. That lime is still kind of coming through. It almost comes off as like a Tahitian lime, which makes me feel like I want to be in Hawaii right now eating poke with it, like real poke. You know how all these places
real poke.
Real poke. All these places in New York started opening up and they're like doing weird stuff that we would never do in Hawaii. It's like poke with like chicken. And it's like, we don't do that in Hawaii. Like throwing mango in it. I mean, that's yummy. It sounds delicious, but we don't do mango. We don't do anything like that. It's like purist. So it's like ahi, a little bit of macadamia nut, some seaweed. And, you know,
Sounds so good.
Sounds so good, really.
That sounds
We're all
really
just gonna
good.
go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
a bit of Hawaii.
And also Hawaii.
So yeah, I mean, as long as the fishing practices are in line with sustainability, then I say we pair this with some fish for sure. I love like tacos and champagne. And my other favorite, Filipe, because we just met, Filipe Andre, before I left New York, he invited me to, this was the invitation, like, let's go to a Michelin chef's house for tacos and champagne. He's doing an underground party. And I actually had to say no because I was busy doing something that night. And I regret it to this day because like 2 weeks later, COVID hit the fan.
Yeah.
There's a really cute taco truck up the road from our house here. And I would totally do like a mahi taco with this champagne. I would like take the champagne up to the taco truck and be like, just give me all the fish tacos and like shrimp tacos. Let's have a picnic.
Try it.
Yeah, but no, it's a delicious wine. I love that it's philanthropic. It is high alcohol, but you don't really get that. It's 13.5. It's aged 2 years in the lees, and they produce about 1,000 bottles every single year. But I love the story. I love the family. In fact, the founder, sadly enough, I don't want to take this on a sad turn, the founder, Barry Sterling, passed 3 weeks ago. Yeah. So I was quite surprised that Joy, I gave her the option, the daughter who's now the CEO, I gave Joy the option of postponing our interview. And she said, I would never. She said, my father would be horrified if I canceled a work event. So we had a great time. And I'm looking forward to trying. I've tried now 3, including this, of their 18, and I'm looking forward to trying the rest of the 15.
I mean, that's the story itself, you know, rest in peace, you know, to the owner. And please tell me again, what was the grape? So did you mention it? Maybe 100%
I didn't. Blanc to Blanc. So
okay. And so I really, everybody who's following or watching this, if you go to my website, everyone's wines is listed there. So if you want to support the family and purchase one of the 18 sparklings, this sounds kind of, I think this is very rare and unique in itself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of uniqueness to this story. The National Geographic label, and then now 18 different, you know, types of sparkling. So, I mean, but we'll get into that because I feel like that's
all method champenois.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Yeah, all of them. So, you know, for me, it was a really beautiful discovery because I've lived in Champagne, quote unquote, for the last 8 years, and I don't get, like I said, get to explore much. So it was a beautiful discovery because the wines are really top notch. I mean, this is $55 bottles. So most of the bottles range between 40 and 60.
Okay.
But I love that it's also a very like tight-knit family operation. They all live on the vineyard. The mother, Joy Sterling, the CEO, and her brother with his family all live on the property. And they had mentioned to me something interesting on our call, that they were starting harvest early, like most of California, and they believe that's because of the lack of like pollution and people out there. Like the air is clean, the growing conditions are like prime to like kick off harvest almost a month early this year.
Yeah.
I've been noticing that. I'm like, why is everybody doing harvest now? But I mean, that's just, it's funny because I always like watch my app, like when I'm on harvest, like watching the app of like everything. Everyone's, oh, today is pick day. I'm like, oh, calm down, you know? So interesting.
Well, it's delicious wine, so I highly recommend it. And I like that it gives back. I love wines that give back, you know?
Yes. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to go straight to Tanisha.
Sorry, we have one question.
Okay.
We have one question from, just a second, from O'Neill, Kide O'Neill, and asking Davon about the food pairing of the wine.
Food pairing, also, when I first tasted this wine, all I could think about was like poached lobster. Because it has like that buttery kind of tenderness, And the way this wine kind of flows over your palate is so good. Like that's all I could think about, like not lobster roll, not fried lobster tail, but like poached lobster would be amazing with this.
Nice.
Nice choice, yeah.
So we got ahi tacos with Blaine's sparkling. We have poached lobsters with Davon, and we're having the pig, okay, the piglet as
Yes, the piglet.
in Bairrada with the sparkling. So official, we know what we're eating. Tanisha?
My turn. All right. This one that I have is Domaine La Louvière. And I chose this one because I knew Blaine was going to be here and Devon was going to be here and they were going to have champagne, probably. So I'm like, I can't have champagne, even though people might expect that since I'm in France. But France makes other sparkling wines too.
Yeah.
So this one is a Blanquette de Limoux. And I like to offer this as a suggestion to people because it's even still different than Crémant. And they say that Blanquette de Limoux, which is short for Petite White, that it was actually the first sparkling wine. And it was discovered by the monks at Saint-Hilaire. And Saint-Hilaire is also the name of a popular Blanquette de Limoux that you can find it's pretty readily available in the States. So you can get that brand in the States. But this one is Domaine La Louvière. This is the label. Hold that up close.
Oh,
and it's from the Languedoc region of France, so in the south. And the lands where these were called the Cathar lands. And it was, they say it's a myth. We don't know if it's real or not, but wolves used to roam in this area. And most of the labels of this particular winery have wolves on them. And the wolves are dressed in suits. Some of the wolves are masculine, some of them are feminine, and they all of the names of their wines are after a type of character. So like seductress and creatress and things like that. So that is a little bit about the winery. As far as this wine, it is made in the traditional method. So they did not have to use 100% Mosaic, which is usually the grape they use for Blanquette. They could blend in 10% of something else. So it's 10% Chardonnay. And the soils here, because this is in the region of Malpère, and the soils here are similar to those of Champagne, so chalky and then a little bit of limestone there. And it is it's a cool area. So it's different than some of the other weather that you have in Languedoc with the Mediterranean influences, because you would expect it to be a little hotter, but it's cooler. And this winery has been around since 1838, I believe, 1838. So, to the good part. So on the smell, I get like white flowers, and then I also get apple. It is a very crisp aroma, if I can say that. It's just, it's crisp. Go with that. First things first, it is delicious. I am getting honey, a definite honey characteristic there. And now more specifically, green apple, because now I can't talk because this is a nice wine to serve chilled, of course chilled, but a little more chilled and serve it as an aperitif, something to kind of have before the guests arrive or, as the guests are coming in before you have your dinner. So think of small, maybe tapas style appetizers, a little light fish, since we're going with the whole seafood thing here. I see cheese, definitely. I wouldn't do anything heavier because usually I like sparkling wines and fried chicken. Everybody knows that about me. Yeah. But with this one, I think that might be a little too heavy for this. So I would go with something a little lighter to kind of balance it out. The alcohol is not high. This is 12%. And yeah, that is the Domaine La Louvière Blanquette de Limoux.
Lovely. Very good.
I always come with my pen and paper because someone knows something more than me. And that's the reason why I do this. I think a lot of times we get very caught up in our own world, and so I love the idea of masterminding with people that I respect, and I know you all are part of that group. So thanks, Tanisha, for sharing something new with me. I did not know about this particular style. And so now I know what to look for.
Yeah. I've seen that brand you're talking about, Tanisha, and I've walked past it a million times, but I'm going to try it now, the St. Hilaire.
Pick it up. Yeah, pick it up. No, it's really good.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So
Nicole, we saved you for last because you were super excited over the grand for your champagne. So we're going to make Nicole like sit there shaking until the end.
no, I must say it's a really lovely selection so far. From Iron Horse, I haven't had wines, for a long time. So it's great to see what has developed and everything. And so it's good to see that we don't have the big brands or whatever, the more small producers, which are really putting their heart and everything into a very quality driven product. So my reason for this sparkling wine I have chosen for tonight, there are quite, I would say 3 major ones. So first of all is that many people do or don't know that a Crémant can be produced outside of France. So, and Germany is really picking up on that. I think because a little bit of the history and whatever. So we are quite of French, French-German relation. And Crémant is a small niche actually, but it's getting popular because it really offers really high quality and it's always well made, and you get this kind of idea. Crémant sounds a little bit more French, I must admit, so it sounds not German at all. And the second thing is because it's from the Mosel, and as a producer, it's Peter Lauer. Actually, they're doing it in the 5th generation, and actually today I think Peter the third, if I'm not wrong, is working together with the son Florian. And they have taken this Crémant to another level, actually. So it's not your ordinary Crémant. It's a Crémant which has been made 100% from Riesling, and it's from steep slope. So it's really everything handmade. So it's really crafted in the cellar. And we had this theme already. They're using barrels, oak barrels. And that's something they're really experimenting. So their still wine is sold on barrel numbers, like barrel 1, 2, 3. And even for the Sekt and the Crémant, they're using this to make the base wines. And like we had, so the slow microoxidation changes everything, and being on the lees for such a long time. And this one I have, it's from 1991. So it has been 29 years.
Wow.
So now we're all jealous. All right, I'm glad.
That's why she was so excited. I would have been excited too.
Yeah.
Freshly disgorged in July 2020. And I must admit, I'm a Riesling Mosel fan, and I had still wines which had been aged, but it's so different here. You don't have this little bit cloying, I would say, petrol-y style. And but I will go to the taste later on, and that really was what made me curious about this wine and the winery, because it's such a different experience for a sparkling wine from Germany, which I think it's extraordinary. And yes, this long aging, it's picking up in Germany that you get really very old vintage Sekt nowadays, so it's coming more and more. And yeah, I just wanted to showcase a little bit, how passionate the people are here, and what beautiful product. And actually, I just noticed now it has only 10% alcohol. So
Oh.
Now everybody's gonna just drink the whole bottle. Thanks.
No sharing.
Yeah, like I said,
No shame.
see at the color, it's
The color, nice.
golden aged color, so it looks already pretty. And I wouldn't recommend drinking that in a small glass like the flute, because it really needs to open up. So I have it open now since we started, and there's so much more coming out of it now when it warms up a little bit. And yeah, it's a different type of Riesling you're getting now, because it's aged so long and has been protected, in the bottle, inside the bottle. You get kind of this forest floor kind of spices like thyme and more this kind of how you call it, sage. And it's not a fruit forward wine anymore. So that has changed a bit. Maybe you get a little bit of peach, but it's more like you get this savory character out of this sparkling wine. And if you sip it, it's really creamy and smooth and still has a good acidity. So the freshness is still there. You wouldn't expect it after 29 years, but it's fresh and lively. And now you get a little bit of this nutty character or a bit of candied fruit. And it's really, for 10% alcohol, it's very complex and it goes really with power through. So I wouldn't recommend this as an aperitif really. So it would be more like a food
Main course.
And yeah, so with something more hearty, like
Nice.
this pork burger from Portugal. So I think that
Yeah.
it will,
You want the pig too?
or maybe
piglet,
if you go
yeah.
now into autumn,
Let's-
you have more hearty dishes, you know, like the cheese, more savory cheese, or even I could see it with fondue, for example, to give it a fresh touch with fondue. So it can really have something with power going along with it. So it has to be seen a little bit more like a still wine, you know, how you
Yeah.
serve it or match it with the food. And I think it's really outstanding. And for that, it's the price of 45 euros.
Okay,
I think it's a bargain somehow.
Yeah.
for sure. For that
You know.
year, are you kidding me? 45 euros.
Yeah, and I think it's a small production, and I checked a little bit if it's available in the US, and I found it Mosel Fine Wines. You know, they were writing about the winery, and I think it got a good rating too. So could be maybe available in the US as well.
Okay,
I can recommend it. Just it's such an experience. It's something so different, you know, from sparkling wines you usually expect or know.
nice.
Was what I was curious about. The color is really stunning.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Before I get to the questions, because they're a little bit intense, I want to make sure
Oh,
I try to go through
We
mine
can
as
take
quickly
another
as
sip.
possible.
Okay, let's prepare.
prepare
So let me
ourselves.
go through my champagne as much as possible quickly. So I have Le Carvahlo champagne. Here we go. The colors. I poured some fresh for you so you can see some bubbles there. Nice round notes. I've obviously, if you've been watching, I've been tasting the whole time, so I don't got to drink anymore. but yeah, this is Rita Jamet's champagne, and so I'm just going to go through the tasting notes and give you some information about her. But I was excited to be acquainted with her through. Actually, I met her at an event, so and learned about her story there. And since then, we've been, let's say, attached. She lives in Harlem, like I'm from Harlem, and so it's been nice to kind of be in contact with her. So I have the Cuvée Nina, and the first thing I thought of is this mixture of like salinity, but I think I'm trying to make sure that the vocabulary that I use when talking to others is a little bit, I'm diving a little bit deeper these days. So, you know,
Yeah.
sea moss is something I've been taking for immunity during COVID times. And so that was the first thing I was tasting. So it's not full on like algae tasting, it's not, but it is something creamy and round about it. So sea moss was the first note that I picked up. And then this white peach note. So it's a nice creaminess, but also sea about it. It didn't, for me, it wasn't a lot of brioche or bread. It was this nice mixture of both, I would say. And so just to give you some idea about the percentage, the Chardonnay is dominant. And then there's this equal balance between the Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier. The nose was more intense than the palate, but the palate actually had a long finish. So it was a nice wine that I would enjoy, like I'm doing right now for breakfast, as well as if I wanted to pair it with food. People always ask, like, how do you know which wine pairs with food? The way that Nicole just described the difference, like why she would not pair her sparkling, her Cremant with something light and easy. In this case, mine's can go, I think it can play both roles. It feels like it can go with a nice, as an aperitif with nice oysters. And then you also can have nice cooked food too, like a herb chicken, you know, roast chicken as well. So I love the fact that it has nice minerality as the dominant flavors. And then there's these subtle flavors of fruit. The mousse was very vibrant, and it was the most expression right in the first 5 seconds. It kind of just then relaxes out. So it wasn't so overwhelming. Some of them, it feels like, I don't know if you see me throughout this, I'm tasting it and it felt like my mouth was like exploding, like balloons was going off. A lot of people don't know much about how to describe what mousse is, or if you're not in the industry, it has this like kind of like firecrackers in a nice way, very gentle, going off in your mouth, bubbles, just kind of like
a facial massage.
Here's Filipe with the facial massage. So yeah, so you get a nice like gums is tickling with the bubbles, okay? And so we'll talk about that later when I ask questions about Prosecco as well, because this also makes a difference between what style of sparkling wine or bubbles you're having too. The mousse is very important. And so this one is very vibrant, but rounding, you know, is not like sharp. You know, I like telling people acid is like knives in your mouth, like the ninjas in there doing something real dramatic, you know. And so in this case, the acidity was long lasting as well. And so I can tell, even though it is from Epernay or Epernay, and in this case, I don't really know what is, I think it's non-vintage, doesn't say a year on it, and it's 12% alcohol. So I did want to give you some information about Rita. The brand is actually, the label is based off of her and her husband's restaurant that closed. And they started the champagne line when they had the restaurant here in New York City. And so the history of actually carrying on. And again, I talked about earlier with Davon, how do you give your customers an additional experience? And so in this case, having their own champagne line added to their wine list was that, of course. And so now that the restaurant is closed, the brand of the restaurant still lives on. So the champagne gets to be its legacy. She has family based in Lebanon. And so growing up as someone from the Middle East who spent time in Switzerland and also in Lebanon, and we know what's going on right now with Lebanon, and also in the midst of talking about diversity in wine, I did highlight her on Cherry Bomb recently, and I asked her for a quote. And so I just wanted to at least end the tasting with this before I get into more questions. And she said, "I would like to think that today it's thankfully becoming easier for women of color to enter the industry and to grow in it." She then adds, "Sadly, it wasn't the case way too long. And I would advise that any young woman of color to pursue her dreams and know her trade/profession well, and to be proud of her descent." And I think that's important, because when you're coming into this industry, whether it's working on the floor, whether it's creating your own, in her case, she owned a restaurant, right? She didn't say, "I'm going to go be in the wine industry," like other people may have. So she also entered it, everyone knows her as Rita in her champagne. If we're not ones who experience the hospitality of our actual restaurant then, but I think it's important that she also had to transition into this industry. So to be very, have grace for the people who are entering it. Also remember where you're from and who you are, and bring that to your wine experience or your wine brand. And that will be the differentiator, between what you represent versus if we all had the same wine and we all were preaching, this wine is the best, why you will be able to be a great ambassador is you kind of infusing what your values are and how that connect with the label. So, so thanks, Rita, for allowing me to taste your wine. She has a shorty version of it. So this is, I call it a nice personal size pizza pie, right?
It's perfect for breakfast.
Yeah.
Perfect for breakfast, right? And so I'll be finishing off with that. So I want to jump right into the questions that I have for you guys. Get ready. And when I didn't mention it, just to add a note that it's 24 months on lease, so 2 years of yeast contact. And so that makes sense that there's this nice round flavors, but also there's this salinity to it too. So again, I know I'm talking amongst professionals, they know what I'm saying. If you have any questions about that, please just ask us. And my question's for them. Okay, so this is, some of them I'm trying to do like a blitz style. So Filipe, if you're gonna get all extra, philosophical about it, please spare me right now, okay? So quickly, Blanc de Blanc or Blanc de Noir?
Blanc de Noir for me.
Okay, that's it. Don't tell me nothing else, Davon.
Okay, Blanc de Noir. I love them both, but Blanc de Noir.
Blanc de Noir.
Blanc,
Noir.
Blanc de
Blanc
Blanc.
de Blanc, Tanisha?
Blanc de Blanc. Mhm.
Right now I'm digging Pinot Meunier dominant.
That's it.
Blanc de Noir.
That's it.
Anybody else?
Blanc de Noir, of course.
Blanc de Noir.
Well, so yeah.
Nicole, which one?
Blanc de Noir.
As well. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm a Blanc de Blanc girl. A Renault Blanc de Blanc. I mean, I don't think I could drink
We have
Renault
one,
any other way. But that's my thing. Okay. We'll get into definitions. If someone has questions, ask us. But if not, we're gonna keep going with these questions, okay? We already know we're all lovers of grower champagne. Okay, so let's take a step back. Of all of your luxury style brands, what's your favorite?
Billy Carsimon.
Billy Carsimon.
Oh, okay. Actually, Champagne Drapier.
I don't know this.
Yeah,
Okay.
they revived some ancient varieties from the champagne, which I really like. They have a new cuvée launched
Okay.
last year, I think. Yeah, interesting. I like it.
Okay. Time to check that one out.
That's hard.
Tatangier.
Tatangier.
Oh, so,
I would do
Davon,
both.
who'd you say?
That's so hard for me. That's really hard for me. I might have to go with Blaine and say Bilka.
Filipe, favorite
Yeah.
big
Well,
brand champagne?
Mine is Krug.
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 Everybody just comes
I
out.
thought we were going
Krug.
accessible though. I thought we were going like accessible, like grocery store we can pick
We
up.
are supposed to say, yeah. Krug is kind of, I mean, that's a big brand. I mean, if Filipe
Yeah.
can get that in Portugal, it's big.
yeah, Germany
Yeah.
too. You can buy it really in the, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Any-
I thought
any
it was
store,
like,
yeah.
it's at every store but like maybe
Why,
$60.
you want to give a different one? Yeah.
No, well, I mean, I also shouldn't have answered that question because like it's also like Laurent Perrier and and Porsche and we could go on.
That's hard.
All right. Granted, I mean, you did it. Don't worry. I mean, Dom Perignon and Renault, if I can like live between two of them, I'm fine all day. So this is good. All right. Next question. We talked about a bunch of methods today. The tank method, Charmant, transfer method, traditional method, method champenois, cap classique. No matter where you're from, there's a bunch of methods, and I think most of people don't even pay attention to the bottle. Most consumers, they don't even, if they're like, okay, I want a Prosecco. And they may say flat out what's on the bottle, but they don't understand it, right? So this is an open question, right? Anybody can answer this. Like, what can we do better? I think the sparkling wine category is not doing its job because people are actually walking into the wine shops and consumers are asking me, I want something like champagne and then buying Prosecco. Clearly, they're a little confused. I just want to make sure, what should you, or what are, I mean, you all have blogs and educate people in champagne and take tours of champagne. So how can, Champagne has done enough to kind of make sure everybody know, no, you're not Champagne if you're not from Champagne. So they've done their job, right, I guess. But everywhere else, I think there's this idea of like, shouldn't you be proud of just being Prosecco? Or shouldn't you be proud of being Cava, And so should they do it, or should they be riding on the coattails like, yeah, buy me, I'm the cheap champagne, Like I really think, I feel some kind of way about it. So I feel like let's take a moment to kind of like talk about the differences here. And do you think it should change? Should they ride the wave as long as possible?
I don't know if they're necessarily riding the wave. I think they're very proud of their Cava, their Prosecco. I think your average consumer is the one that uses the term champagne to cover everything. Just like we use the word Kleenex to talk about literally every tissue we ever use, and it's not all Kleenex. I think champagne has become that for the consumer. Now, as far as our part and how we can change that, I am not sure. So
I would
Thank
like
God I
to
didn't
say,
drink. I would have spit everywhere.
it just comes down to education. And I think that the consumer is definitely becoming more increasingly aware of where, you know, their food is coming from, but also where they're now, and anything they consume is coming from, especially like the millennial sets. So I think that, you know, it takes the wine store clerk or owner or in-store expert to really educate the consumer on the story. And that's why I go back to the story, like, you know, the story behind the wine, how it was made, how long it was aged, why it has the price point it does. And because otherwise they're just going to go in and ask for the champagne and walk out with the Prosecco because it's the least expensive on the shelf. So, you know, I really do feel like it just comes down to education. And I feel like oftentimes when I talk about stories to the consumer, it is a huge selling point for them. Like, oh, this was aged for 2 years and this is like a family vineyard and and like you get into it and they really appreciate it. So I think there's room for the knowledge to be like dissected and like for the action to happen where they actually reach for the more premium sparkling that's maybe a grower champagne versus the mass produced Prosecco. Not to say that there aren't premium Proseccos on the market, but that's my
Yeah. I would agree with that education is one of the most important things, especially here in Germany. You know, the word champagne is really forbidden. I know in the US you can still claim many things champagne. So
I don't think so, but yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, like, you know how on a bottle it will say they see champagne when it says method champagne, you know, and so they like, oh, that's a champagne.
Yeah.
And so therefore you understand that they're not understanding the methods more than anything. So
Exactly. Yeah, so from our point here, it's more the problem to compete even, you know, with the cheap sect and with champagne. It always had been this luxury product, and now that the producers are offering German sect at the same level of quality, it's really the the big effort to make it visible for the consumers. And like you said, it's all it depends on the wineries itself, about the wine communicators, educators, and the wine stores, you know, to really get consumers interested in swapping, you know, from if we want something special, we buy champagne. Why don't we try something special like I have here, the sect? So, but it's a lot of work, but I'm really happy to see that it started and taking on, you know, that's now it's more kind of, we all bundle the forces, you know, combine it and make a more powerful voice for the quality wines. And that's the same with Carvahlo, for example, which I really enjoy a lot, but they have the same image problem in a way, you know. And yes, it's all about communication and let people try, you know. There's Berlin is a restaurant. They have now only a German sect on the list. And they're doing very often kind of this blind serving. And people are like, wow, what's that? So I'm getting interested, and yeah, then they got curious. Oh, okay, that can be Zach. So yeah, but you have to put effort in it, and you're
also making it approachable and accessible. You know,
Yeah.
like talking about tacos and champagne and sushi and champagne,
Yes,
and champagne and fried chicken and champagne. Let's make it more, you know, bring it down to earth. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like I especially in this climate, we all want to support small businesses, and that's a grower champagne. So
right.
yeah, so and we want to support the taco stands too.
Yeah.
Tacos.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna go get tacos today.
that's a good idea actually to try out. Yeah, but for example, in Germany, it's missing that that you have sparkling wine with food. You know, it's not a habit. When I had been in Portugal and Porto, we went to this market thing there, and I was so amazed, you know, that you could buy then your food and you would have the choice of different sparklers with it. And I was thinking, okay, you don't have that in Germany. You start with a sparkler, but then you switch, you know, move on to the still wines. That's usually the way. And yeah, so you have to bring it really down more like on a practical, change the habits actually.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking too. It's like it's a combination of how it's marketed and education, like Blaine was saying. And I think those two coming together to create kind of a mindset shift so that it is accessible, it is approachable. You don't have to wait for a special occasion. You can drink it anytime, any day. On my Instagram stories, I always do these stories called Beats and Bubbly. And so it's literally just me and my significant other. We're sitting outside and we're drinking a bottle just in the middle of the week. And he plays the music and I have the wine and, you know, I show the wine and stuff like that. And letting people know that, you know, you don't necessarily have to spend $60, $70, $80 to have a good bubbly. You can spend $20. I did a blog post recently that was for rosés that were $10, and they were like really good sparkling rosés, like for real. And so just getting people to integrate sparkling wine into their everyday life, into their everyday lifestyle. You know, if you feel like drinking bubbly, drink bubbly. You don't have to wait, just drink it if you've got it. And, you know, making sure that people, because one of the interesting things about sparkling wine to me is that there's an extra level of, you know, wine is very detailed and complicated anyway, or it can be. And so when you have sparkling wine, you have another layer to that because you're talking about, well, what's brut? Well, what's demi-sec? Well, what's, you know, what is cap classic? What does this mean? And so what I try to do is get people to kind of indulge that curiosity about it. Go into the wine shop, don't be afraid to ask, you know, don't feel like you have to go into the wine store knowing everything. Ask, they're there to help you. They're there to help educate you. They're there to help you expand your palate. So, you know, just kind of getting people more comfortable with integrating sparkling wine into their everyday lifestyle, that will do wonders.
Agree, yes. Definitely
Agree.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's that.
So it's funny. I guess this wasn't officially the next question. I was going to actually end with this one, but I do want to, maybe this may start a new discussion too, is what are some of the myths about sparkling wine? Like name one that you would like to debunk. Like, I wish that we could get rid of people thinking this. And so I think some of you already talked about a few. So if you just want to pick one that you're like, hi, everyone, my name is Blaine, and I want you to know that.
My name's Blaine, and I want you to know that if you say that champagne gives you a hangover, you're probably not drinking real champagne.
Okay, thank you, Blaine.
Or you're just drinking too much. Like anything you drink too much of.
There's a lot of funny stuff in the market.
You're probably drinking bottomless mimosas at the corner bar in like Murray Hill if you're telling me that champagne's giving you a hangover. So let's just end it at that. That's my
okay. There we go. And I think yeah, like Tanisha said, I mean, anything give you a hangover, you drink the whole bottle. I mean, so
no, there's a very cheap fizzy wine in the market. I'm pretty sure that you can see in other markets, but here in Portugal, you can see that it's very cheap. It's around €2. It's very cheap.
Well, nothing costs €2 in America. Okay, not even the train. Okay.
I know, but even here they use it for cocktails. I see that a lot for sangria, where they add fruits and they make a kind of cocktail. But it's really a problem on the next day. They bring wine from Spain, and you can see the trucks coming in, and they just add the gas and
this is sounding sad.
The fizzy wine. But on the next day, it's really a problem. So be careful of those fizzy wines that you can find in the market. Here we call it frizzante, and it's really not very recommendable.
This is in Portugal. I don't think anybody else is going to run into this moment. Yes, but in different ways. There's a lot of sparkling wines in the supermarkets that I would not like. I'm talking about a supermarket that doesn't have an actual alcohol section. I'm talking about one that's just like, yeah, these are the 3 wines we sell in the whole supermarket. Those ones, don't stay far away from, okay? But Filipe, since you picked up there, do you want people to know anything beyond like Portuguese people don't drink that? Like what else? Is there any myths that you want debunked about sparkling wine?
As I was saying, this is a very versatile wine. You can drink it besides special occasions. You can follow all course meal with sparkling wine. It's really very, very versatile, as I mentioned. Even in the winter, you can drink sparkling wine. Well, I'm very blessed to be in Bairrada. As I mentioned, we all have a bottle waiting for guests to come and taste it. So we drink it all year long, and we just love it. So don't save it for special occasions. Drink it on casual occasions with your friends everywhere, just with few snacks or whatever, or with a proper meal. So you can drink sparkling wine anywhere and everywhere.
There you have it. Filipe, drink sparkling wine all the time. Okay, we got it.
I even got a tattoo.
This is why we didn't wait for New Year's Eve to have this session, because he wants to make sure you can drink sparkling wine in August. It's okay.
On a random Saturday in August.
Random Saturday, August. They have no holidays. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Have one, I would pick it up. So actually, I often come across that people are saying, "Oh no, sparkling wine I cannot drink. They have too high acidity." Really obvious. And I think, like we all know, there's such a diversity and various styles around. So I think if you really would look for it, you would find something which would work well for you, because we have all those different types of production methods and styles from all different countries. So that's something I would recommend. Don't believe that every sparkling wine is acidic or has
Nicole, I thought you were about to say, don't believe the hype. I was about to say, you my new best friend.
I was gonna fall out of this chair, okay?
I was like, wait a minute, Nicole, don't believe the hype. I believe, you know what? I'm coming to Germany tomorrow. No, but yes, the acid level. I think that people don't even know what acid is, but whatever it is, they're like running from it,
Exactly. Okay, no.
They're like, ooh, no, not this one.
Fighting in lemon, so it's like, well, okay, no.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Nicole. Who else? Who got
I have one.
A myth buster?
I have a myth buster. If you don't like red wine, that does not mean you won't like sparkling wines that are made with red wine grapes.
Well, this is a question I got it for later, so go ahead, talk about it.
Well, no, like a lot of people will think, oh, well, I don't like red wines. I only like white wines, so I only want to drink Blanc de Blanc champagne, or I'm not trying. So that's not true. There are so many different styles and varieties made with blends. And I even try to push people, if you say you don't like red wines, try a Blanc de Noir anyway, because it will probably really surprise you. So that's the myth I want to bust, that you won't like it if it's made with red wine grapes because you don't like red wine.
Well, let's go a step back. I know I asked you guys to choose between the two, but most of the people I encounter, I don't think they even know that Pinot Noir is in their champagne. So most people don't even know, the average consumer of champagne, meaning, hi, I want Moet. They do not know that Pinot Noir is in that Moet at all. And so when someone is telling you that it's a Blanc de Blanc, just for people who are watching, is that it is literally translation saying that this was made with white grapes. So it could be a cava, it can be from Champagne, etc., but just or Portugal, but just understand that we're just saying that only white grapes were used to produce this sparkling wine, okay? Rarely you do have people use the same terminology when it comes to still wines, but only when it comes to Blanc de Noir. Normally you see Blanc de Noir written on a still wine because they're using a grape like Pinot Noir to make a white wine. And if you are even more interested in that idea, you can check out the French edition of United We Taste when Tanisha decided to bring at a blind tasting a Blanc de Noir.
Tell me it was a blind tasting at first.
She brought a Blanc de Noir to a blind tasting.
In
so
my
clearly
defense,
She wasn't trying to make friends, okay? So if you bring a white wine made from red grapes to a blind tasting, you are clearly trying to confuse everyone.
You did not say it was blind.
So,
That was like a
and that's
new
what we're referring
development.
to. Uh-oh, go ahead, Tanisha. What's your words?
No, I'm just saying it was a new development, the blind part. That was not like the rule before. I wasn't trying to stump the crowd. I wasn't. To make friends. I wanted to win friends and influence people. Like, that's
well, now you influence everyone to know what a Blanc de Noir is. And so if you use a, red grape, any red grape, and you make a white wine, still or sparkling, Blanc de Noir. So I had to just jump in and say that because I know I asked you guys really quick in the beginning, and I know someone's going to watch this like, what the hell are you even talking about? So Blanc de Blanc, Blanc de Noir. There we go. So thanks, Davon. Tanisha, you ready for your myth buster?
No, because they took all the good ones. And the only one I can think of is one that kind of applies to all wine. Just because it is expensive doesn't mean it's better. And just because it is lower cost doesn't mean it's terrible. But that can literally apply to any wine. But people really think that. They're like, oh, no, 15. I'm giving this to a good friend, so it should cost more than that. It doesn't have to be amazing. You can blow someone's mind with, well, at least here, I don't know about America anymore with the tariffs, but you can get an amazing wine for 15 for, 17 in that price point.
Yeah.
Don't bring me anything that's like 3, like that €2.
$2.
He was talking about, like, no, that's not, no, let's not.
Portuguese situation. Don't bring that.
We gave that up a few years back. That's not.
I will add, which is funny, I thought that somebody would definitely say it's because people do get champagne obviously mixed up with old sparkling. So we did say that, we touched on it a little bit, but it seemed like I'm always repeating it. Every time I think that, oh yeah, it's 5 years later, no one thinks that no more. Someone still thinks it. So I think we underestimate the fact that most people don't have access to the knowledge that we all have. And so I just want to say it for sure. My name is Cha, and all sparkling is not champagne. Okay. And that's not because that's what my heart believes. It's a fact. Okay. So, it's not like me like saying, oh yeah, champagne is so amazing, nothing can touch it. No, literally, that is the rule. It cannot be champagne unless it's from the region of Champagne in France. It is made from certain grapes as regulated in France and is made in these 7 steps, which is called the traditional method champenois. That is what makes it champagne. So this is no shade to any other region or any other country, that it only can be named champagne unless it's from there. So that's like a simple one that I just knew for sure someone was going to say, but no one said it. So I'll just go ahead and make it official and put it up there now. So
well done.
All right. I'm going to slide this baby out here because go ahead, Blaine.
On time, but I just wanted to say one other thing. Obviously, like running Champagne Week that I hear all the time is that all sparkling is high sugar, like that.
Oh.
I mean, people are like, oh, there's too much sugar in champagne, there's too much sugar in sparkling wine. Like, I would like to debunk that myth, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I hear often from the
I didn't realize people thought it was sweet, which was interesting.
People think that bubbles equal sweet if they're not like wine enthusiasts.
I never had anybody assume that. I can tell people who love sweet wine, and then they'll have Moet and they love it. And I'm like, that is crazy. This is dry and you love it. And all you drink is Moscato. I'm confused on how come you love it.
And I wonder, do they actually love it, or do they just think they're supposed to love it?
You know what? We want to have a conversation about that. But
I wonder that about some of those brands. I'm not naming any names, but I wonder, do people really love it, or do they think they're supposed to love it?
We're going to talk about that. I just want to make sure I just zoom in on this because this was the other one I was going to open, but I don't think I'm gonna make it. So I'm just gonna do this.
Maybe later. The day's young.
No, for sure, and it's chill. It's perfect. You got a nice little.
Oh yeah, cool.
So and I think that the reason why I'm doing this and sharing this is because most people, because I have to tap into my natural wine people. There's always someone, right? And so they're like, oh no, I love pet nats, and so there is, let's have a moment. Do you have sparkling? I don't even know if people know that sparkling, pet nat is a sparkling wine. So let's just start there. And then we have sparkling wine lovers here. And so This is Buttonwood, female winemaker. She actually started making wine at the age of 55. She's from the Finger Lakes region. I love her story. Recently got to know her. I see Blaine writing her down. Yes, girlfriend, you got to reach out to her, please. And so, yeah, just, you always know, you got the crown cap versus the, dropped it, but yes, the normal frame, for the,
I can show it again. It's here.
Cage. Yeah, the cage, excuse me. There we go.
Yeah.
For your champagne. And so the crown caps, pet nats, someone's like, yeah, dude, natty wines only, so I just want to have a moment for them, let's have this moment, just go laugh. Keep the bubbles in the nose.
Okay? I wasn't ready for that. Okay.
So let's just have a moment. Let's have it. And this one is Riesling, Nicole, by the way, anything from New York. Undoubtedly, we're big on Rieslings. So understandably, I'm excited to have this wine later today. And I just really wanted to hear everyone's thoughts on pet nats. And I do want to throw out a second sub-level to pet nats and actually mention ancestral method. So that actually was going to be my original debunker here, is that pet nats are not ancestral. So I think often those are confused. And so the more I talk to people who are like, bro, pet nats, is when I actually have to divide the two and make sure people understand. I get it. People are like, oh, we're just doing what they did a bunch of years ago and we're just doing it again. And it get confused because that does not mean that it's always made ancestral method, especially if on the bottle it says it's a pet nat. So I'm assuming that this actually had 2 different fermentations. That's the definition of that, versus an ancestral method. Both of them are happening at the same time. So just like a sparkling wine from Champagne, etc., you will actually do a cuvee. So you actually do a a still wine cuvee fermentation, and then you'll do a second fermentation to actually do the sparkling. So in this case, that is not the case when it's ancestral. It happens together. And so let me just put that definition out there. But what's your thoughts on pet nats?
I like pet nats. I think they're fun. I think they can be a little funky, but I like them. I think they're interesting, but I like to try stuff. So I think they can be really fun. I don't love all pet nats because, they don't all make them the same, right? But I've had some really fun, tasty ones.
Okay.
I would pick up now because in Germany it's a little bit of popular, has become popular.
Yes. Bro.
And, but I was finding out that in the beginning, the pet nuts was more like experimental wines. And sometimes if you would have them here and it was a bit warm, they would start continuing, the fermentation and would, kind of explosion and everything. And then the taste experience was kind of weird. You couldn't really put or categorize the wine because it was kind of a completely mixed, various taste. If you used to categorize your wines, this is a Riesling from there and there, and then what you often do, it was a really new experience, which was great because you had to start a new way of thinking. But now I find it has divided again. So you have still the experimental ones who are really going, we are the real raw pet nut producers. But now famous wineries are picking up on that trend and selling a pet nut, which is really just easy drinking, or very often for my taste too sweet. So and then I always think it's more like a wine you should have with food, because all this yeasty sweetness and complexity of it, and sometimes it reminds me of this yeasty spice. I don't know the English word for it, which you put into the bouillon.
My brother puts it on his food.
Yeah, so it's like something which has become, either you go mainstream, you could just drink it, or the other ones are still more experimental, but more fun, in a way. So I don't see the point to make really just because it's a trend, you make this a little bit boring style of pet nut. So that's my thought. It's kind of in between here. So
may I plug a friend?
Okay, sure.
Well, again, I think it comes down to education, like most wines, and I'm no expert in natural or orange wines or pet nats or anything like that, but I have a really good girlfriend who is a sommelier based in New York who started an orange wine club called Orange Glue. And on her website, she does a taste of pet nat. So like that's a really fun way. It's a wine club, but because of like COVID, she's kind of loosened the restrictions of being able to order. You don't have to join the club full on. And that's been really fun for me to explore the category because I don't know like anything, like or very little about pet nat, but I've gotten to taste through different styles through her club. So I think again, it comes back to education. And she really breaks it down and makes it you can understand. Like again, I always also come back to food. Like
Is that Doreen?
Doreen, yeah. So she has like the pairing suggestions that comes with the sheets that she sends with the
That's very helpful. Yes.
which is super helpful, yeah, to like kind of translate it. So I love that.
Filipe, do you have any opinions about pet nat?
Yeah, well, pet nat here in Portugal is still quite recent. It's only 3 or 4 producers doing it. Well, by principle, I'm always open-minded to taste new things, and I always welcome new experiments. I must be honest, I just tried 2 pet nats here, local ones. Very easy drinking, very casual. So I enjoy it, but it's really not my thing. I must be honest. Let's see if I can try other ones from other places, more complex. But for the time being, they really not impressed me at all.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
There you go. Okay. Filipe's not impressed, then we know the standards need to pick up, okay? I mean, Filipe just told everybody to buy €2 wine, so no, I'm playing. No, I'm messing with you. I'll tell, the one that I actually do like that is Portuguese is, I'm gonna butcher the name, Uvio. I actually opened it last weekend or 2 weekends ago, so I have a picture of it. So I'll share it on my Instagram too.
That's the one that I tasted, yeah.
Oh, you had that one. Oh, all right. So yeah, so that one was pretty good. I like that one, and I'll probably have to get into too. Buttonwood, because I was doing a Zoom educational tasting with her. You know, it was. I decided to save it. I was like, girl, I ain't opening this wine. I'm gonna open it when I can. When I can actually, but we were drinking a few wines that day. And so I was like, oh, this would be good to have for today. I didn't know I was gonna have the champagne too. So in this case, originally I was going to do the Buttonwood and talk more about pet nats. But yeah, yeasty flavor, if you're into that, you know. But I think lees do lend to something that is very unique to wine. And so, especially when it's about food wine, gastronomy. And so I do like the idea of having, because I am that very puckery, sour Sauvignon Blanc girl at heart. So having a nice pet nat that, you know, sounds like I should have sauerkraut or kimchi with it. Oh, this is like kimchi. And so I'm like, I'm a big food wine person, and I think a lot of people think that, but I just love wine because I love food so much. And so it's like working out a puzzle in my head. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't have this normally, but what goes with it? And then I like crave, and I can tell because when I'm tasting this wine, I crave something. My body actually releases some type of like, you know, I'm like, I know what I want, kimchi, you know. And so, you know, maybe I've been blessed with some special gift, you know, and you know, that's probably why people love coming to my food and wine events, because I taste the wine, I start drinking about the food, and so it's easy for me to put it together. So yeah, if somebody's gonna ask me what's my superpower, I can tell you that's it for sure. So yeah.
When you said that the La Carvahlo had some sea moss, I instantly thought about Rita and what she would pair with that. And I thought, uni pasta, 1000%. For that, which It's like a match made in heaven.
For sure. I can definitely see that happening. So I'm going to close this out with one question, unless there's anything coming from the chat, Filipe, that we should know about.
No, it's
Okay.
all good for now.
All good. Everyone who's hanging tight with us, thank you for joining. I am going to now decide which one I should ask. Let's see how far. All right, Davon, I'm going to say this question, and it's mainly for you, but it's because I know everybody else can give us some context to this, and you touched on it a little bit, but this is strictly your lane for sure. Veuve Clicquot decided to sue a bunch of people that was using the color of their label. And so they basically trademarked the color, the orange tangerine, it's almost like the Hermes orange, right? So it's it is, but it's not, all the graphic designers who are following, or, designers, exactly, you got to know the code to the actual color. And a lot of people, I think there's a very popular, especially in America, Prosecco, that's in all the liquor stores. They got this nice orange on it too. A lot of people start just throwing that orange or a form of orange on their bottles. I feel, especially for sparkling. There's a Cava brand that came out that actually had an orange on it too. They sued them. They just said, it's too close, that's our color. And so, with you being in trademark and wine law, I just really, I do a lot of case studies. So I remember definitely researching a lot more from the economics perspective about how this can easily go wrong. It's cool to get your, that's that wine I think I like, because people don't know how to say Veuve or don't know anything about the story of a widow Nicole. And so they literally just pick the color. That looks like the label I think I had, and they just buy it, And so, we could say the same thing about red bottom shoes, right?
Exactly.
And so just using your knowledge and your brain power, I know this happens probably a lot. In this case, this is a big brand and everyone's very familiar with it. So what's your thoughts on that? And we'll end with that, just talking about this color or this wine law and branding.
It's really interesting because I used to be a trademarks examining attorney for the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. So that's how I got into trademark law. It's interesting because I can see both sides of it. When you are a trademark holder, you own intellectual property and you've registered it with the Patent and Trademark Office, it's your duty and your job to police it and protect it and monitor it, because what happens is if you don't monitor and police and protect it, you can essentially lose protection in your trademark. So one of the things that I tell my clients all the time as an example is that a lot of people don't realize that the word aspirin used to actually be a brand name, but because so many people were referring to it as aspirin, they lost that. So aspirin is actually salicylic acid. And so aspirin was the brand name for salicylic acid. Everybody started calling it aspirin, and they lost that trademark protection. And kind of going back to what Tanisha said earlier about calling all tissues Kleenex. If you'll look at Kleenex commercials, you will hear them refer to their product as tissue, so they can separate the product from the brand name. So they don't want everybody to refer to everything as Kleenex because they'll lose that protection. The very specific thing about trademark law is that out of all of the intellectual properties you have, patents and copyrights and trademarks, with trademark law, that's the only one that's required to be in commerce. So that's the only intellectual property that you must be in commerce in order to have it protected. And so that's why the bar is so high for policing it once you secure your intellectual property. So I understand that they have to police it in that way and say, hey, you can't use it. And truth be told, there are probably some brands that are saying, hey, we're going to trade on this person's market share that they've built around this very distinctive color. So you have people that are coming in and saying, okay, well, let me just slap this on my label. And, you know, exactly with what you said, maybe people will kind of think, you know, associate the quality of my wine with that one because they built a brand.
Right.
The flip side of that is that sometimes, you know, it can kind of get to the point where brands become bullies. You know, they go too far and they start kind of bullying people unnecessarily. There are a couple of companies that I won't name, but it's ridiculous with how far they go with protecting their brand, because the whole kind of barometer, so to speak, that they look at is whether or not the brand is going to be confused in the consumer marketplace with another brand. So it's called likelihood of confusion. So how easy is it that one consumer or the average reasonable consumer is going to confuse one brand with the other? And so I understand that they have to do it. I would love to see brands be more strategic with how they do it. I don't think that it's necessary to just go from 0 to 100 and sue people. Have a conversation with people. Some people don't know, they don't understand. So have a conversation and say, you know, this is why we're protecting this. We're asking you to stop using it. And if they don't, then you can escalate. But, you know, I get it. And that's one of the things that I really delve into when I'm working with wine law clients. I just signed a client, in fact, last week from Australia, who is wanting to launch a wine brand in the US. But when you're building your wine brand, it's really important that you carve out your specific place. So whether it's a distinctive color, a distinctive name, or distinctive, you know, product line, or you got a, you know, funky bottle shape. Who is it? JP Chanette? I don't know how to pronounce it, but they have that little, they have a divot in their bottle. So the bottle has like a little divot in it. And they're the only people that I know that do that. All of their bottles have a little divot in it. So whatever it is you're going to do to establish yourself in the marketplace and you know, carve out your distinctiveness and your uniqueness, you got to protect it, but be strategic with protecting it. So I get why they do it, but sometimes I think they take it too far.
Anyone else have anything to say about, thank you, Davon, that was perfect. I think that people don't understand. I thought it would be interesting because this is what you do. To bring that case study up, it came up when I was visiting Catalonia, and we was talking about the particular Cava brand and their trials, and basically the idea is how do we move forward, especially since I do a lot more wine business strategy. So in this case, I'm in the forefront. They usually come to you, it sounds like, when they actually are already up shit's creek, as they say. Right? So, which is probably too late.
Yes, I want to get them ahead of time when they're talking about, you know, launching. Let's get you something really distinctive and unique so that when someone hears or sees your brand, it's distinct. I think people get it confused that they think, you know, well, if I look like something that's already successful, then I'll be successful. And that's the opposite when it comes to branding and trademark law.
Branding anything, right? If I like, I can go become Tanisha tomorrow, but I don't think that I'll be so successful. There's only one Tanisha, okay?
I have a question for Davon. And for us Europeans like Nicole, I think you can also share the idea. Tanisha's in Paris. So you have the common market here. And for us, it's quite strange to see how you guys have that problem. You can't sell wine over states. What is the current status now?
What do you mean can't sell wine over states? Sorry.
If you are in one state, in Washington, you can't sell wine from Washington to other state.
You can.
Is that correct?
Well, how is different laws in each state? Like some states, you can't sell wine to them. You can't ship wine to them. You can't sell wine. All 50 states can't sell wine to all 50 states.
It's quite strange.
Yeah, it's very
one country, and you have that problem. We are several countries. We have a common market. It's quite easy for us, but you are struggling even in the high court. So what is the current situation, David?
It's frustrating because, you know, here we have that 3-tier system. And so all of that is kind of rooted in prohibition, right? You know, wanting to control, you know, how much wine wine and spirits are consumed and who gets what, and making sure that, you know, people aren't able to double dip. And so they have this 3-tier system, and it makes it really difficult and challenging because, like it was already mentioned, each state has their own laws, kind of their own regulations that go along with that kind of federal law. And so this state might require you to have a license. This one might not. This one might require you to go through an importer. This one might require you to go through a distributor. So it's complicated and it's complex. And I would, if I had the ability money-wise, like I didn't have to worry about making money and I was independently wealthy, I would just go be a lobbyist and to be a lobbyist and try to, you know, kind of break down some of that and rebuild it so that it is easier, because essentially it's about commerce, right? It's about me. If I'm a winery in Texas, I have a winery and I want to get my product out there. So help me get it out there. Don't hinder me from sending it from state to state because this state has this rule, this state has that rule. Help me with that commerce. And so, like I said, if I was independently wealthy, I'd be a lobbyist.
And you would think it's crazy because current acting was his number 45 or whatever. He basically is, he's putting these additional tariffs on European wines, but yet he's not making the wines that's in America easier to move. Like in that case, you would think he would say, okay, well, we're going to put all these tariffs on European wine, but let's let the American wines move more freely. So exactly. I don't know. I'm like, you know, this is welcome to America. This is America.
Welcome to America. It's extremely
So I'm glad you said that if you was independently wealthy, because usually at the end of the show, I am. So thank you, Davon. If you never tuned in to United We Taste, I give out money. Yay, it's the money time. So every last and very final question ends with, what is Sha going to make you spend your money on this time? So I'm giving my money out to all of you, but you have one question, one place to go. Where are you going to actually make the sparkling wine that I am going to fund for you? And it cannot be champagne. So you all have to think, tell us why that region, tell us where in the world we're going to make these bubbles. And yeah, can't be champagne. So I'm very interested to hear what you all have to say.
No, right off the top. I'm going to Italy and making Franciacorta. That's what I'm going to do.
Come on now.
Italy.
Well, you already know I support her. Okay, I'm with her. All right. Who else is spending my money?
I would fly over to Tasmania actually, because I really love the cool climate style, and I'm a very huge fan of these big companies here. You know, very expensive sparkling wines, and wow, I would love to see and work there. Yeah.
Davon is making Franciacorta. Nicole is making Tasmanian sparkling. You guys are starting on the right foot for me right now. So you do no wrong. Tanisha, I took champagne away from you. And so I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Because I want to visit this region. I've never been there, but I'm a huge fan of their wines. I would be making Cap Classique in South Africa.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes. So we got Cap Classique in South Africa. All right, Blaine.
Baja.
Where you going?
So Baja, Valle de
Oh, yeah.
I don't know enough about the sparklings, but I've heard really good things. And I was actually going to go there in April to explore the region. And so I think I want to do that. I want to surf and make sparkling in Baja.
Yeah. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
And Filipe, for you, it can't be Portugal, just because, okay? So the whole of Portugal, he can't do that? All right. No place in Portugal, can you say? So
I go to my second country, which is Australia.
Should have took that away from him too, but
I would go to Adelaide to do some sparkling wine there. And if I can do it in Portugal, I would do with Portuguese grapes in Adelaide.
Oh.
He still snuck that in there. All right.
I know. There you go.
I like that drive. He's like, no.
He's tricky like that. You gotta see how you move. All right, all of you've been granted money. Don't worry, you all got it. Oh, no one said a wrong answer.
Yeah.
What'd you say,
Like
Blake?
money.
Where are you going?
Yes,
You know where I'm going. You know what? The Tasmania, you had me there. Frenchie Côte in Tasmania. The fact that y'all said that first, it's like I'm done. I don't got to do anything. I'll go there. Yeah, I actually had a friend down in Australia who then flew over to Tasmania for right before COVID. And so she was like, girl, you got to have these sparklers. She's not even in the wine industry. I was like, I'm just happy to be thinking about me. So it's been nice, like during her trip. I've been like learning a little bit more about Tasmanian sparkling wines too, beyond the textbook, I like to say. And one of my major things, or actually was one of my questions on here, is how do we get Frenchie Côte to be as popular as Prosecco? I didn't ask the question because of time, but yeah, I'm a big Frenchie Côte fan. So Francia Côte.
Yeah.
I always get slapped, so I just gotta make sure I correct myself. And so I mean, if again anybody, here go another myth. To debunk, right? If Prosecco is not the Italian champagne, Frenchie Côte is, okay? So if you are out there in the world, Prosecco is not the equivalent, okay? Again, so thank you all for being here. I don't want to hold you any longer. I want you to enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thanks everybody who's been joining us.
Another toast.
Cheers.
Let's do a toast. That means I pour more wine.
Another toast. It's never too much.
Yeah.
All right, thanks guys.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers.